Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be looking into internet search, and specifically those companies that are promising a little bit more privacy.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? You've got all these figures sort of positioning themselves as, these privacy crusaders,
Right.
but they're still operating within a system that's fundamentally built on, data collection.
Yeah.
So it begs the question, is this genuine or is this a savvy marketing ploy?
Right. Yeah. Is this all just smoke and mirrors, or is there something really here to this?
Exactly.
And the guy that we're going to be talking about today is Gabriel Weinberg and his company, DuckDuckGo,
Yeah.
which is, of course, the search engine that promises to kind of break away from big tech's, prying eyes.
Right.
So we've got a ton of material on Weinberg and DuckDuckGo that you guys have sent to us.
Articles and interviews and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, so we've got articles, we've got Wikipedia entries, we've got interviews.
Yeah.
And the question that we always ask ourselves is this guy legit? Is he a, true visionary, or is he just a really good marketer?
Yeah. Is he grifter or is he gifted?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's dive into it.
Let's start with his origin story.
Yeah, let's start at the beginning.
Back in 2008, he launched DuckDuckGo.
And he funded it himself.
That's right, self-funded. So it seems like there was some genuine concern that fueled this project.
Yeah.
This wasn't some Silicon Valley hotshot chasing venture capital.
Yeah, right.
This guy had a physics degree from MIT.
Right, and a master's.
And a master's in technology and policy from MIT as well.
So he's a smart guy.
Yeah, so this is somebody who's already grappling with the impacts of technology on society long before DuckDuckGo ever came along.
Yeah, he's not just a techie. He's thinking about the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
So what was the spark? What made him think, I need to create a privacy-focused search engine?
Well, he was really troubled by the way search engines just handed over data to governments.
Yeah.
He saw this need for an experience that actually respected user privacy, and he decided he was the guy to do it.
Wow.
He had to step up.
I mean, this wasn't his first go-around in the tech world, though, was it? Didn't he have a social network before this?
He did.
What was it called again?
Names database.
Names database.
Not quite as catchy, is it?
No, not rolls off the tongue quite as well as DuckDuckGo.
Oh.
So, all right, so we've got this guy. He's got a little bit of a background in tech.
Yeah.
He starts DuckDuckGo in 2008, self-funded.
Yeah.
And he's concerned about privacy. How does this little engine, how did it actually start to gain some traction?
Well, in the early days, they had a small but very dedicated user base.
Right.
People who were already, on board with the privacy thing.
Right.
But then things really exploded in 2012.
What happened in 2012?
You remember the NSA PRISM program?
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
That was a big one.
Everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, everybody suddenly became aware of just how much data Google and Microsoft and Yahoo were collecting.
Yeah, it was scary.
And DuckDuckGo was kind of perfectly positioned.
Right place, right time.
Right place, right time to offer this alternative.
Yeah.
Remember that billboard campaign they did?
Yeah.
Directly called out Google's tracking practices.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
And their traffic doubled in the month after that campaign.
Wow. So they really knew how to hit where it hurts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But here's the thing. DuckDuckGo says you don't need to track people to make money from search.
Right.
So how do they make money then?
Well, their primary revenue source is something called contextual advertising.
Okay.
So they're showing ads that are related to your search terms, not your entire browsing history.
Okay, so it's not like, I search for shoes and then suddenly I'm seeing ads for shoes everywhere I go on the internet.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just related to that specific search.
Right, and it's a much less intrusive approach, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it definitely sounds that way.
Yeah.
But can they actually generate enough revenue to really compete with the big guys doing it the other way?
That's a good question.
And they also partner with companies like Yahoo and Bing for some of their search results.
They do.
Isn't that a little contradictory?
Well, Weinberg argues it's a necessary alliance, to really challenge Google's dominance.
Okay.
He says he's basically working within the system to try and change it from the inside.
Okay, so maybe he's playing a little bit of a long game here.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
But is it sustainable? I mean, is he playing with fire a little bit?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really takes us to the heart of this grifter or gifted question.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll really delve into DuckDuckGo's privacy practices and see if they can actually walk the walk.
Sounds good. All right, so let's dive into the nitty-gritty here. How does DuckDuckGo actually work? Can it really deliver on these privacy promises?
Well, you mentioned that they don't track users, so how do they generate those search results?
Right, it's not magic.
Right.
but it is different from how, say, Google operates.
All right.
DuckDuckGo isn't really a traditional search engine in the sense that it doesn't have its own massive index of the entire web.
So what do they have?
Well, they do crawl the web, but their crawler mainly focuses on providing what they call instant answers.
Instant answers.
These are the things that you see at the top of the search results page.
Right.
Quick facts, definitions, calculations,
Right.
things that you don't need to wade through a ton of websites to find.
Makes sense.
So they're prioritizing efficiency and giving users what they need quickly.
Okay, so it's about getting you that information right away.
Exactly. And a lot of those instant answers are actually crowdsourced.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're maintained by a community of volunteers who contribute and verify information.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a really interesting approach.
So they're leveraging that collective knowledge, but still trying to, minimize the data collection.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the instant answers, but what about all the other stuff? The stuff that isn't a quick answer?
Right. Well, for the rest of the search results, DuckDuckGo essentially acts as what we call a search aggregator.
A search aggregator, okay.
So they're pulling in results from over 400 different sources.
Wow.
Including Bing and Yahoo and Wolfram Alpha and, of course, their own crawler.
So they're kind of like a middleman.
Exactly. They're combining those results from all these different places.
Okay.
And that's really how they try to mitigate the privacy risks.
Okay.
They prioritize sources that allow them to route everything through their own system so they don't have to share your personal information with those other sources.
Clever.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they're still relying on those other companies.
Yeah.
Some of which, don't have the greatest track record when it comes to privacy.
Right. And that's the inherent tension that DuckDuckGo faces.
Right.
They're trying to build this privacy-focused product within an ecosystem that is dominated by companies that thrive on data collection.
Right. It's like trying to, build a sustainable farm in the middle of an industrial wasteland.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Or should I say the tracker in the search results?
Yeah.
That whole Microsoft tracker issue really, shook a lot of people's trust in DuckDuckGo.
It did.
So how do they defend that?
Well, Weinberg argues that their agreement with Microsoft prevents them from blocking those specific trackers.
Okay.
They say they've been pushing Microsoft to make those trackers less intrusive and that they're constantly working to minimize the impact.
Okay.
But for a lot of users, allowing any third-party trackers, feels like a betrayal.
Right. It feels like they've kind of compromised their values a bit.
Absolutely.
So does this mean that they don't really have as much control over the search experience as they claim to?
Right. That's the question. Is this a necessary compromise or is it, a slippery slope? Are they becoming more like the very companies that they're trying to be different from?
Right. Are they becoming the very thing that they were trying to fight against?
Exactly.
It's interesting that one of the articles that you sent me mentioned that DuckDuckGo billboard campaign that directly targeted Google's tracking practices.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently their traffic doubled in the month following that campaign.
It did. It's fascinating, isn't it? They really tapped into that public anxiety about online privacy, and they presented themselves as the solution.
Yeah, they really struck a nerve.
They did.
So you have to admire their boldness.
Yeah.
But can they back it up with real substance?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
Is he a true visionary, or is he just a brilliant marketer?
Yeah, he certainly talks in that interview he gave on the Knowledge Project podcast. He made this really compelling argument about how widespread surveillance leads to self-censorship and stifles free expression.
Yeah, he's tapping into a core concern of privacy advocates.
Right?
This idea that, when we feel like we're constantly being watched, we're less likely to explore new ideas, to challenge norms, to engage in open discourse.
Right. It's like Big Brother is always watching.
Exactly. And that can have a really chilling effect on creativity and critical thinking.
But is complete online privacy even possible in this day and age?
That's a great question. Is that just a utopian fantasy?
Yeah.
I mean, it really comes down to what we prioritize. Do we prioritize convenience and personalization, even if it means surrendering some of our privacy?
Right.
Or do we draw a line in the sand and say, you know what, I demand more control over my data?
That's a tough question.
It is, and it's a question that we all have to answer for ourselves as we navigate this increasingly digital world.
And it seems like Weinberg, through DuckDuckGo, is really forcing us to confront these questions.
He is.
But is he leading the charge towards a more private future, or is he simply profiting from our anxieties?
Yeah.
Big questions that we'll continue to explore in part 3.
Mm.
Okay, so we've gone through Gabriel Weinberg's, journey
Yeah.
from that first kind of clunky social network names database
Right.
to building this search engine that really challenges, how things are done
Absolutely.
when it comes to data collection.
Yeah, he's trying to shake things up.
Yeah, so let's get back to that question that we started with.
Okay.
Is Gabriel Weinberg a genuine visionary? Is he really pushing for change, or is he just a really, really good marketer?
Right. Is he just capitalizing on, people's fear of big tech?
Exactly.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, like most things in life, it's probably somewhere in between.
Right.
He's obviously a brilliant guy, right?
Yeah.
He's got the technical skills. He's got the marketing know-how.
Right.
I mean, he built a successful company.
Yeah.
But the question is, what's really driving him?
Yeah. Is it profit? Is it principle?
Is it a bit of both?
Yeah.
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah. I mean, think about it this way, though.
Okay.
He could be doing anything right with his background, with his talents.
He could, yeah.
But he chose to tackle something as complex and as daunting as challenging Google
Yeah.
in the name of privacy.
Yeah, he didn't take the easy route, that's for sure.
Right. So that suggests at least some level of, true belief.
Yeah, you'd have to think so. I mean, remember, he self-funded DuckDuckGo for years, even when it was just this little side project.
Right.
And he's consistently put resources into developing all these privacy-focused tools.
Right. It's not just the search engine.
Right. You've got the browser extension. You've got the mobile app. They've even got their own dedicated browser now.
Right.
So it's more than just a business,
It does seem like a mission.
Yeah, it feels like there's a real ideology there.
And his book, Super Thinking,
Oh, yeah.
it's not, your typical self-help book
Really?
or a tech CEO's memoir or anything.
Yeah, right.
It's like a deep dive into mental models and how we make decisions.
It's pretty heady stuff.
It's pretty heady stuff. And it feels like an extension of his philosophy in a way,
Yeah, like he's trying to encourage people to think critically, to challenge assumptions.
Yeah.
It speaks to this broader intellectual curiosity that you don't always see.
Right.
It's like he's genuinely interested in figuring out how we can use technology to empower people,
Yeah.
not exploit them,
Right.
which is refreshing.
It is refreshing, but we have to be honest here.
Sure.
It's a pretty idealistic vision. But is it realistic? I mean, the Microsoft Tracker issue really, put a damper on things.
It did, yeah. For a lot of people, that felt like a broken promise. And it really raised questions about, how committed they actually are to privacy.
Even if it was a necessary compromise,
Yeah.
it definitely left some people feeling disillusioned.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think it exposed this fundamental tension
Yeah.
between idealism and pragmatism,
Right.
Can you really be a privacy champion if you're operating within a system that's built on data collection?
Right.
It's a question that DuckDuckGo and Weinberg still have to answer.
Yeah, convincingly.
Convincingly.
And it's a question that we each have to answer for ourselves, too.
Oh, I do.
Like, do we believe that a more private internet is even possible?
Right. And if it is, what role do we play in making it happen?
Do we support companies like DuckDuckGo, even with their flaws?
Exactly. Do we hold big tech more accountable?
These are big questions.
They are big questions, but they're important questions.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this whole deep dive isn't just about Gabriel Weinberg and DuckDuckGo.
No.
It's about recognizing that we have power
Yeah.
to shape the internet.
We're not just passive consumers.
Right. We can demand more transparency, more control, more respect for our privacy.
We have a voice.
Yeah. So it's a complex issue.
Oh, absolutely.
No easy answers.
Nope.
But one thing is for sure.
What's that?
Gabriel Weinberg, whether you see him as a visionary or a really shrewd businessman,
Yeah.
he's made us think about these things.
He has. Yeah, he's disrupted the status quo.
And he's started a conversation that's not going away.
A conversation that needs to happen.
Exactly. And that's maybe his greatest legacy.
Maybe so.
No matter what happens to DuckDuckGo,
Right.
he's shown that there's a desire for
Yeah.
more private internet.
An alternative.
He's shown that you can challenge big tech,
It's possible.
even if it's a David and Goliath situation.
It's a tough fight, but it's worth fighting.
Yeah. And he's reminded us that the future of the internet isn't set in stone. It's something that we can all help shape.
We all have a role to play.
So that's something for all of you to think about.
Yeah, chew on that for a while.
What would a truly private internet look like?
Yeah.
How would it change how we interact with technology, with information, with each other?
It's a fascinating thought experiment.
It is so. Until next time, stay curious.